Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's having an amazing Wednesday. Just before we get going today, I'm going to let you listen to this beautiful song by Casey Donovan. Not the whole song, but just while we wait for some people to get on. It's called Listen With Your Heart. Hey, Jal, how are you today? So while we are waiting, I'm going to give you some gratitudes. And firstly, I am super grateful to be here. Hey, Angela, long time since I've seen you, beautiful lady. I am so grateful to be here, so grateful to be able to serve and just to delve into some of the things that I've gone through to make your lives a little better. If you take one little thing from this today, I know that you'll be able to put it into your life and take some positivity with you. Hey Ree, hey Amy, how are you? Secondly, I am grateful for the beautiful sunshine. One of my gratitudes for moving to Perth is this weather. So grateful to have sunshine still. And I'm grateful for all of you. I'm grateful that you're here, that you're looking after yourselves, and that for those of you watching, for those people that are taking time to tune in this morning. So a little bit about me. I will just shut this noise down. My name is Michelle, first of all, and I am one of your very proud ambassadors. I have been with Happiness Co for almost 3 years now. I started with the challenges and worked my way through, and now I am the ambassador coordinator, and I work alongside some amazing people, and for that I'm super grateful. I'm also super grateful for the initiative of Happiness Aid and being able to spend time with you guys. Hey Danielle, hey Ben and Mal. So today we're going to talk about nurturing the nurturer, and I could just imagine what that title has conjured up in each of your minds. I will touch a little bit on loving yourself, but that is a topic that we're going to be having in one of our nighttime presentations, and I'd really like you to listen in, have a think about the topics that I bring up, and just see how you can implement them into your lives. So while I'm talking, I would love you to pop up some gratitudes. Hey Anastasia, hi Tracy, and I will start getting into it. So the first thing that I really want to talk about is loving the love that you give to everyone else. Have a think about your day-to-day life and how much you give out and how much you take in. Is it 50-50? Hey Anastasia, hey Katrina. Or are you just giving and not taking that time to look after yourself? Hey Ken, how are you? I just want you to really think about that. And this is going to be one of your exercises. I'd really like you to write down, hey Beck, what you think that percentage is for you. I know that I spent a lot of my life, and that percentage would be almost 99% to 1%. I would make sure that everyone else was okay, everyone else had their needs met, and then often I would go to sleep at night without even thinking of nurturing myself. So what we need to do is take a look at that, perhaps write all those things down that you're doing for others, write down the times that you're spending for yourself, and then challenge yourself to increase the time that you look after yourself. It doesn't need to be 50-50, it doesn't even need to be 70-30, but so long as you're taking time to really do the things that fill your heart up. And yeah, Katrina, you're right. It is a mum thing. And often we see women who are really burned out from being a mum and just concentrating your whole life on having the kids in the perfect position, or running around and making sure that our partners, our husbands, our our family and our friends are all okay before we come back to the person that really matters. So it all comes back to how full your heart is. How much are you respecting yourself to give yourself that time? Hey, Charlotte, are you deserving of the love that you give others? Do you deserve the love that you hand out so freely to others? Do you deserve the time that you spend doing things for everyone else? Is that something that you deserve in your own heart? Because if it is, you need to start giving that to yourself. The people around you are learning from your examples. The more you give out, the more they want. Hey, Mandy. So the more that you give out, the more that they will ask you to do. And that's not the fault of theirs. That actually comes back to you taking the responsibility for yourself. So when you start looking at where you are in your own life and concentrating on giving yourself the same love, the same respect that you give to other people, that's when you'll start feeling more fulfilled in what you do give to others. If you're continually giving and giving and giving, then you're going to end up burned out and you're actually going to end up resenting the people that you're giving to. Not that you don't love them, but you start resenting all the time that you haven't given yourself. So you need to take responsibility for that for you. And you need to really put yourself on a little pedestal. Start being selfish and start taking some time to look after the number one person in your life. Hey, Robin. There's so much truth in putting that oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on children. Because if you're busy worrying about your children, worrying about your friends and family all of the time, you're not breathing yourself. You're not looking into your own heart. You're not drawing in everything that you need to be able to give out. So that's my little bit on loving the love you give. And I want to go on. You're probably wondering what this closed door is that I put in my 4 topics for today. The closed door is something that I brought into my own life very late, not as early as I should have brought it into my own life. Hey, Alexandra. Hey, Rach. But the closed door is exactly that. We need to set boundaries. But for people who are nurturers, for people who are obligers, we have trouble keeping those boundaries firm. And we let people walk all over them. So in my life, I decided that the only way that I could set a firm boundary was to physically close a door. So I started off with a physical boundary. When I needed my time, when I needed to sit down, when I needed to meditate, when I needed to practice my yoga, or if I needed time writing, I no longer put myself in a position where I could be interrupted, where I couldn't concentrate wholly on what I was doing. So I physically went into a room and closed the door. Yes, sometimes we do, because we do know that the children follow us into the toilet. But often there, Katrina, too, we fall into the trap of just leaving the door ajar just in case they need us. And we've all done it. I guarantee every mum has let their child come into the toilet with them. And if we start setting those boundaries first, closing that door, so they physically cannot come in until they get a bit older and start opening the door. But putting those boundaries in place early for yourself, early for your family and friends, is going to form that respect from the external and also the internal, because you're respecting yourself. So time moved on, and fortunately for me, when I was putting myself in behind a closed door, it was winter. So I was able just to stay inside. Then moving on, I like to practice yoga outside. So I didn't want to be locking myself in the door all the time. Hey, Natasha. So I went outside, but in my mind, I pictured that physical boundary. I took that physical boundary and made it a physical boundary in my mind outside. So to me, I had walls and a door around me. I could still feel the sunshine. I could still do what I needed outside, but I started creating those imaginary boundaries. So everyone around me also respected those boundaries that I had put in place earlier. So physically closing a door on someone, being selfish to be selfless, and allowing yourself to have that time just for you. Hey, Robbie. So what we want to do is fill up our own hearts, fill our hearts with so much love that we can't help but allow that love to spill over to the other people in our lives. But we can't do that without self-respect and deserving the love that we give out to others. So having those boundaries that people cannot step through and being really firm with them. Once you don't have those physical walls and door, just making them imaginary and making people respect those boundaries for you. The more you respect yourself and your own boundaries, the more other people will begin to respect them for you as well. So now, safe words. A lot of you may have heard about safe words. And I know that, probably 90% of us have read Christian Grey and about his safe words that he had in his red room. But we want to talk about safe words that we develop with friendship. So I have a friend who can be really loud, really obnoxious. And we're like chalk and cheese because I often don't speak up for myself. It's something that I'm still passionate about, but it's something that I've really got to work on for myself and can often be triggered when I don't stand in my own truth. So we have a safe word for each other. And interestingly enough, her safe word for me is shush. And so when she says shush to me, I realize that I'm shutting down, that I'm not speaking up, saying what I need to get across, and I'm not standing in my truth and being the person that I really am. We form that respect when she's being loud and obnoxious. I simply say to her, breathe. For her, that brings her back inside her body and actually physically makes her breathe. So we have that respect for each other. We know when we're overstepping each other's boundaries and we can work with that. You can develop something like that for your kids, and that can actually take them into an amazing adulthood where they actually think of their safe word and it triggers something for them to then slow down, for them to then speak up. And it can also enable them to not get into a position where they're battened down and told to be quiet. If you bring up your children with so much self-respect, so much love, and teach them by example from an early age that they can speak their truth, that they can look after themselves, that they can love the person that they wholly and solely are. It's great in relationships. It's great when you're arguing. Sometimes couples can't work their argument out because one will shut down and one will just keep going and be barking at the other person. Hey, Jody. And if you have a strong enough relationship, you should be able to set a safe word for each other where immediately when you say that word, it triggers and they then start thinking about what they're doing. So the time is before you get into the arguments or the situations, not always arguments, but the time is before that when you get together and you talk about it and you know when you can pull each other up. So I love safe words, and I've got many with other people as well. Obviously, my husband. I have a safe word with a couple of the ambassadors. That, you know, people always have their differences, and just being able to love each other but know the boundaries of each person is really, really important. So, hey Pagan, the next one I'm going to go into is listening to your heart, but also listening with your heart. So we always start listening with our head. Everything that is coming in is being filtered with this brain. We want to be able to take it down and put it in the brain of our heart. I spent so many years in my head, hey Karen, that it took me a long time to realize where my heart was. And I discovered yoga, and the yoga that I do is called the yoga of the heart. So this was something that was real to me. I am very good at visualizing, so I would visualize words traveling into my heart. And there might be a different way that you need to trigger your heart to start working, but working on yourself is always your number one priority. Working on yourself, the person that you need to love first, should always be your number one priority. So, listening with your heart. When your kids speak, when your husband speak, when your partner, mother, daughter, any one of your friends, anyone that you're even speaking to in the shops, if you open your heart and let their words really penetrate your senses, think about the thoughts that start coming up and draw them down and put yourself in that person's position. We all know that everyone at the moment is really suffering. There's not one person out there that hasn't been touched by this pandemic. So when you're having a conversation, and you might notice that people are starting to strike up conversations now more readily, and perhaps that's just what we needed, something like this to bring us all together in community and in love. So when someone is speaking to you, listen, take those words in, and then feel in to where those words are coming from for that person. They might be speaking in an angry voice, but if you filter that with your heart and understand why they're feeling the way they are, why they're speaking the way they are, your ability to respond to that person will be completely different. Hey Matt. Hey Jody. So I guess the heart is your filter. So when you're listening, sometimes I even put my hands on my heart and just enable yourself to sit in your truth and to listen to the words, listen to the tonality, and look at the face of the person you're speaking to. If you look into the eyes, and it's often said that the eyes are the windows to the soul, but if you look into the eyes of the person, you will feel a lot more about the words that are coming out of their mouth than if you're just listening with your ears and allowing your brain to be the filter. So this is something that it does take practice. And I only started sitting with listening through my heart 10 years ago. So it's still a work in practice for me as well. But your kids will notice. Your partner, your spouse, your family and your friends. Hey Chase, how are you? They will all notice when you become so open to them. But you need to follow all the steps that we've been talking about. So loving the love that you give to others, we need to respect ourselves enough and deserve enough respect that we love the way that we love others. We need to take time for ourselves and close those doors. Shut the doors, put the boundaries in place, and spend as much time on yourself as you need. If you are coming right into your heart space, you are going to feel when your heart is full enough to start allowing it to overflow into the lives of other people. We're going to sit down and listen, and we're also going to work on some safe words with people that we perhaps struggle with putting our boundaries up to, especially our partners, especially our kids. It's actually a really fun thing to do, to talk about, hey Heath, love that you're here. It's actually a really fun thing to do, to sit down and have that conversation with those people and to find a word that you can just speak that will trigger them to change their behavior, or that will trigger you to change your behavior. Again, that's about respecting each other enough to have those words in place. So if we have a little think about where we come from and why we may have fallen into the trap of just doing things for everyone all the time. And often we hear people say that we're people pleasing. And look, perhaps we are, but it is different in every circumstance. So a people pleaser can sometimes be doing that for something that is triggered in them. It may actually be that they have spent their whole life trying to appease other people. They've seen their parents appeasing other people, but it also can come from a place of fear, where they've been asked to keep a secret that they really don't want to keep. So rather than speaking up, they hold everything in and they continue to make everyone happy. It could be their love language. Their love language might be words of affirmation. So when they're pleasing people, they're getting that love back. But we're not doing that in the correct form. So we're not deserving to get our love language. We're putting ourselves into a position where we're asking. We're having to ask for those words of affirmation. They're not just flowing freely. But if you are putting the love into yourself, putting the time into yourself, filling your heart to flow out, to change the lives of others, then that is where you really start to respect yourself, and that respect starts to flow back into your own life. I spent the first almost 40 years of my life as a people pleaser. Things that had happened to me through my life made me scared, made me retreat, made me pull my head into my shell. And it's funny, my kids actually even called me Turtle, but it wasn't until later on in life that I've actually realized the significance of that turtle. They weren't using turtle for this reason, but I would pull my head in, close off to the world, and just continue doing what the world expected me to do. Often, as a mum, you'll make yourself a cup of coffee. Well, some of us do. Some of us have tea. Some of us just have a drink of any sort. And you'll sit it on the table, but then you've got to get the dishes finished. You've got to get the kids to bed. That load of washing needs to be done, and that other load of washing needs to be pegged out on the line. So we might have a sip here and there, but how many times do you pour 3/4 or half a cup of your drink down the sink? Would you expect someone else to do that for you? I know there's things that need to be done, but once you start putting those boundaries in place is when those things will all fall into place. I had a friend who once said to me, "I cannot believe you're so organized." And I often laughed at that. Although I loved having her say that, I was so disorganized in my own private life. But what I was putting out to the world was that I was super organized. I had everything in control. I was always on time. I was always dressed well. My hair was always spot on. But my life at home was in turmoil. Then when it all hit the fan, so to speak, and people saw what cracks were at home, I became the problem. But I had put myself in that place. I had acted as if everything was perfectly fine on the outside. And so people thought that everything was perfectly fine on the inside. But I didn't have the same smile I have today. I didn't have the same bright blue eyes that I have today. My complexion was terrible. I would break out in pimples when I was of an age where you would think that you didn't have them anymore. And that's your body's way of telling you. I was always sick. Hey, how many times have you reheated that coffee though, Katrina? So what I want to leave you with today is deserving. Being deserved of everything in your life. And boiling the kettle over and over, that's another one. Respecting yourself. Self-respect earns the respect from everyone. You look into your own heart, listen with your heart, listen with a different perspective, listen as if someone is right inside your body. Love you first. Deal with your emotions. Sit back and take time for you. Have firm boundaries. I would love for you all, and even those people that you watch this a little bit later on, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I would also love to hear your safe words and what they mean to you. And I would love to hear how you guys are going to start setting boundaries. So once again, I would love to thank you all so much for watching this morning. It's been my absolute pleasure. I'm so grateful. And yes, I did just say pleasure, not pleasure. I am so grateful that you've jumped on, and my heart is actually bursting right now. So to be able to share this with you and touch your lives a little has really opened me up today as well. So thank you so much. Much love to you all.